Would you like to sleep a bit? Yes, I suppose. What? Because you're a robot, not me. You don't get urges to run out of you don't get urges to run out of straight. That light. Straight. Yes. Right. I hope you can hear. This is a psychiatrist here at COVID Kitchen. Chef will be along in a moment. Yes. He's actually been in a good mood for some reason. I'm not really sure why. You can hear my treatment, perhaps. Seems unlikely, but COVID Kitchen. Hideous sound coming from. Chef will be along in a moment. Yes. He's actually been in a good mood for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I'm going to need to check treatment, perhaps. Seems unlikely, but hopefully you can hear. I just make my own. Yes. He's actually been in a good mood for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I'm going to need to check treatment, perhaps. Seems unlikely, but hopefully you can hear. I just there will be a slight delay in the program. This is not a plan. It's fine. No problem. Here. No problem. Funny feeling. This phantom power problem. That was it. Phantom power problem. Okay. Of course, audio guy has taught me much lately. Okay, okay. Hopefully that sounds a little better. Of course, audio guy has taught me much lately. Okay, hopefully that sounds a little better. Problems. This kitchen is just nothing but problems. Everything goes wrong all the time with everything. The robot is stuck in the corner. you know, you've had too much to drink. I think thirsty.
Problems. This kitchen is just nothing but problems. Everything goes wrong all the time. Everything.
All right. Indeed, as I was saying, Chef will be along in a moment. But he has been in a good mood lately, and I'm not entirely sure why. We went out drinking the other night. We went to Cheaters, and then the Limelight, and then back to Cheaters, and he was in a very ebullient mood. It was very unusual. I don't know. He even cleaned the refrigerator. Very, very peculiar, but you know, you take what you can get, I guess, where you get it. Let's see. I don't really have anything else to add, and since I have taken more than my scheduled time, and I know Chef is very eager, one last thing I want to say. I don't know why. I have strange sense of foreboding. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But I'll go get Chef. Hey everybody, I'm Chef. Welcome to the COVID Kitchen. Today we're going to have brunch. Should be a pretty short episode actually, because I want to show you something I think you can use in your life, whether you're in lockdown or not. It's completely changed my breakfast universe, and I don't think I'm ever going to do breakfast the same again, because of what I have learned in the last couple of months about this, and I want to share this with you. And my glasses are falling. Anyhow, what we are going to do is a very simple French type breakfast today, and I'm going to show you how to make a French style omelet, very authentically, as well as bacon a couple of different ways. And let's get things started off here first though with a mimosa. We went out, psychiatrist and I, on Friday, and celebrated the reopening of a few of our favorite places. I won't say where, but it was nice to see everybody again and get out a little bit. So, you know, good thing. So I took yesterday off and just was preparing recipes yesterday, you know. But now this morning, ordinarily I don't really believe in the idea of drinking before noon. I think it's generally a bad idea, but it's COVID Kitchen and we're doing brunch. I'll have a mimosa. Obviously, it has champagne. And we also have some delicious, donated by one of the COVID Kitchen viewers, hibiscus tea. Oh yeah. That's delicious. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm really excited for today's episode. It's going to be very short because I have already made the bacon. I made it a couple ways. I'll come back to that in a minute. But what I want to do first is I'm actually going to explain what is so special about these omelets, these French style omelets. I'm going to explain kind of like all the preparation because I'm going to spend more time explaining it than making it. It goes very fast. And then I'll get to the bacon and we'll describe it, and then I'm going to finish the bacon, and then we'll eat. So it should be pretty simple. But this French omelet thing. So actually I was working on preparation for one of the kitchens a couple months ago, and one of the things came up on YouTube that said, how to make a French style omelet. It was Jacques Pepin, and I thought, it was only like 5 minutes long. I thought, okay, cool. So anyway, fired this up and watched it. I made one, and I was astonished at how delicious it was. It may be like, oh, come on, how much different can an omelet be? Let me put it this way. The only other time in my life I've had an experience like this where I realized I had been making and eating a particular food all wrong was back when I realized that I had spent the first, 32 years of my life making ribs incorrectly. Although I guess I didn't actually make them for the first 20 or so. But the point is that I went from like the high temperature, basted all in barbecue sauce style ribs to more of the low, slow smoking approach. And that, of course, has eventually kind of taken over almost all of my meat cooking. But in any case, it was a revolution. A revolution. And this was very similar. I mean, I made this thing, and it's very simple. And I bit into it, and I realized I've been making omelets wrong incorrectly my entire life. And not just me, but everywhere you go eat, in restaurants and diners, they're all making it wrong. They all are making it wrong. And it's very doable to do this. But there is a very specific technique. And that's what I want to show you here. So it's very important to follow some of these instructions. And so that's why I'm going to describe all this stuff first, because the actual construction, the making of the omelet is going to be done like that. It's like lightning. All right. So, first, before we get started, if you're going to be doing these at home, and you should, I don't think I'm ever going to make an omelet any other way again, now that I know how to do this. You absolutely, positively have to use a nonstick pan. It won't work with any. I even tried one time. I went against it. I tried my cast iron. Nope, don't do it. Hang on one second. All right. Sorry, audio guy had the TV on a little loud over there. So you have to use that. It'll ruin it. The whole secret to this thing, this is beguiling, because it's only 4 ingredients. And you think, okay, how much different can this thing taste? I mean, I was like, this is so much better. Yeah, I mean, it's literally astonishing. So, but you have to use these 4 ingredients, and let's go through them here. And I'm going to go. Well, hang on. I guess one other thing I want to say about this is there's a couple of things about this omelet that is so unique and interesting. One is the texture is quite a bit different. A key thing about it is it's constructed differently, and so it'll be creamier. Frankly, I don't personally add any fillers to these omelets, but this omelet will be naturally creamier than any. You could put all the cheese you want in the regular kind of omelet that you're eating, and it won't match this without cheese. It's that delicious. The whole point is, instead of having kind of these large cooked and slightly burned eggs, you're going to have something that's cooked very fast, but not burned at all, and you're going to be breaking it up constantly in a very specific way. And then you'll assemble it in a final way that will allow it to be basically like a rolled layer. Really, really good. So theoretically, you can add things like mushrooms or spinach or whatever you want. I see no need for that. They are so delicious as is. You have to do it that way. So that's part of it. Another part of what makes these omelets so interesting is that, you know how when you go to like a really nice high-end restaurant and they're trying to illustrate the quality of a particular ingredient or food in a way that you're not going to get, like if you go to, I don't know, Applebee's or Chili's or a normal restaurant, where you're kind of just eating the total sum of the taste. Instead, when you get into higher end restaurants, typically you can actually really taste the contribution of the flavors, and that dynamic is something you can do here very easily just with your omelet, and you will taste these 4 ingredients very distinctly. So the ingredients are important. The quality of the ingredients is really important, because you will taste everything I'm about to run through. Now, what are these 4 ingredients? The first is, and I'm going to work from least important to go from low quality to high quality up to the thing that's most important to this, to make this totally delicious. That's my hat, not the light.
it's, again, all of them matter. If you can get good ingredients for them, that's fine, but you can substitute out. I've been making these, and I'll discuss each of these in sequence. So the least important to have the highest quality ingredients actually is the herbs, okay? You can use the sawdust and that kind of stuff if you want. Today I'm going to be having some fresh because it is better, but you can still make a very, very tasty one of these omelets if you're in a pinch. But there are only 4 herbs that can go into a French omelet. That would be parsley, tarragon, chervil, and chives. Today I'm going to be using chives, fresh chives. But like it might be hard for you to find one of those other ingredients fresh, or chives. I've used dried chives before also. It's better to use fresh, but it's not the end of the world. So, but it's very important that you stick to those 4. I've been experimenting around with them a little bit, and I would also encourage you to initially just throw one in at a time in each omelet before you start playing with the combinations, because these flavors are really going to jump out in your mouth. So you want to, kind of know what you're doing, and I'm still going through that experimentation on different herb combinations. But today we're just going to illustrate it with one. It's perfectly delicious this way. We're going to, again, use fresh chives. The third most important ingredient to an omelet, and this may make your eyebrows go up, actually is eggs. And you go, how the hell aren't eggs number 1? Well, you'll find that out in a second here, but eggs, certainly using farm fresh eggs or, something higher quality than the garbage that they serve at the grocery store is going to help. You're definitely going to appreciate that egg flavor better. And so I don't mean to totally knock this. The only reason why eggs are number 3 is because the first 2 are actually that much more important. And that's just, there can only be one greatest, right? Kind of like Iron COVID Kitchen. The second most important ingredient to the flavor of this thing actually is salt. Do not make this omelet with this. Don't. You want to use this in lots of other cooking, that's totally fine. You're not going to really taste it. You want to salt your pasta, you're putting salt on fries, that's fine. Go ahead and use this. Do not use it here. I've used, this is a salt that I've used for a long time. It's called So Salt. It's an Italian sea salt. It's really good. It's not what I'm using today. This is kind of my go-to salt now. It's David's. Good kosher salt. If you want to use Himalayan salt, it doesn't necessarily matter. It matters. It depends on the one you like, because you're really going to taste the salt. It's not going to be super salty, but you'll taste the salt that's there. So it's important that you like it. Today, I'm actually going with an experiment. This is what every time I make one of these omelets, I change things up a bit. This is today's experiment. I'm making a Hawaiian volcano salt that I got. I'm going to throw some of this in and see how that goes. I don't know if you can see this or not, but you can see it's kind of like blackish. So it tastes pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see how it works. All right. So salt is number 2. The most important ingredient, in my opinion, in a French-style omelet is butter. Butter will shine in this thing. And I made one of these with regular store-bought butter the first time I made it, and it was like, wow, this is really good. But I'm also a big fan of using other butters, and I always carry some other stuff. But when you switch to a higher fat butter, the problem with American butters is they have a lower fat content, and so they're even the Amish style, which is a little higher. It's still not up to what the Europeans are making. Okay, so I'm not trying to be a Euro snob, although it is a French cooking episode. But quite frankly, you definitely want to use European butter. Your taste may vary. My favorite actually is Irish butter. I use Kerrygold. I have both salted and unsalted. I'm going to talk about that in a second. It's a huge difference in flavor if you use good butter. It's not up for debate. So if you're going to make one of these things, I strongly recommend you spend a few extra pennies on a higher quality butter. The question of salted versus unsalted actually is a little bit important. I actually prefer to use salted butter for this. Now, obviously, you're going to adjust the amount of salt you're adding, depending on whether you've got salted butter or not. You may say, well, why would you do that? It's because the salt is actually going to provide a distinct separate flavor from the salt that's in the butter. And the butter, again, which is in my opinion the all-star of this whole meal, is it's going to have a different taste depending on whether it's salted or not. That's really going to show up. Now, that's not necessarily the case with a lot of other types of cooking, but again, remember, this is a vehicle for delivering very specific flavors into your mouth, and you will definitely taste your butter, and so you want to be happy with it. So just understand that the amount of salt that you're going to add is going to vary a little bit depending on whether you're using salted or unsalted butter. Okay? All right. So I'm going to put the omelet on pause for the moment and go back to the mimosa, I guess, first. That's a good way, good thing to have. I had a bottle of champagne downstairs for like the last 3 years. I figured, I'll break it up when I go to the kitchen. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, all right, so let's move on to bacon. Okay, most people make bacon in one of two ways, both of which I would strongly discourage. One is in that thing, in the microwave. Everybody knows that the real purpose of a microwave is to hide your Slivovich from psychiatrists. Don't tell them that. The second way is you pan fry it. And pan frying isn't bad, but I don't recommend that personally because you wind up getting an uneven cooked bacon. It just doesn't, and you typically have to cook it at a slightly hotter level. And I tend to find that almost all pork products actually benefit from cooking as low and slow, even with bacon as you can. So the usual way I make bacon is in the oven. However, today I am going to eat two types of bacon that I made in ways that I haven't actually tried before. Although I did sample both of them, they taste pretty good out of the approaches. I can't wait to eat these. One of them was I threw it in the smoker. I was going to smoke something else today anyway. I got a chicken going outside right now, so I figured, hey, why not throw the bacon on first and get that in. So I'm going to have some smoker bacon. It's store-bought bacon, but so I didn't make it myself or anything, but it's put on the smoker. The other way was in the sous vide, and I'm going to finish the sous vide bacon because it needs it. It's too soft, unlike the smoker bacon where it got really well cooked. The sous vide cooks it, but it doesn't give it. You want a little bit of crispiness, and we need a little more fat rendering because the sous vide temperature is a little lower. So I'm gonna torch the bacon here in a second. One other thing I'll say about bacon. Again, this is another strong suggestion. You're going to spend a few more pennies on it, but I would never, ever buy bacon that comes in a package ever again. And not for a health reason or anything like that, but I've never been to a store where whatever they're carrying in their deli is exceeded by anything that's in any of their packages. You might have an exception, and you might have something else. Hey, more power to you if that's the case. I'm a little skeptical of that. I look forward to seeing a packaged bacon, and maybe you have a great grocery store by your house that has proven me wrong, but in my experience, it is not worth it. There's a huge difference in bacon quality, and usually what you're going to get at the deli is a lot more flavorful. So, although it is store-bought bacon, I always buy the bacon from the deli. All right. So let's deal with the bacon, and I'm keeping this warm here in the oven. So the one I'm going to mess with is basically the sous vide one. Again, the smoker stuff I think is perfectly fine as it is. But let's go ahead and pull this out. And we're just going to give it a quick torch. Hopefully this doesn't start on fire. Oh yeah! Look at that. Whew. Yeah, a little bit. All right, that looks like a trick. A little bit of a crunch. All right, going back in the oven. Want to keep it a little bit warm. All right. Next. Now this is another really important thing about making this particular omelet. This is very important. You have to get your pan hot. Okay. Don't even start until everything's ready, including that your pan is all the way up to full temperature. Temperature is really important to this, and here's where you want to hit it. So everybody's stove is different, and this is unfortunately an electric stove, so that doesn't help anything, but you can learn where the right setting is for making this dish. And I've experimented with this quite a bit, and for me, it works good at 6. But you may have something different. The important thing is it's going to be kind of medium hot, and when your butter is in it, you want the butter to be bubbling, but you don't want it to burn. And so you want it kind of in that butter sweet spot there. So it's got to be hot enough. Basically you want to be right below the burn point with the butter if you can. So again, for me, that happens at 6. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move the platform here so you're going to be able to see this a little better. All right. Problem is now I can't. Whoop. Yikes, that's going to be dangerous. But that's the COVID kitchen way. All right. It's a good thing I haven't had like 40 mimosas, because otherwise I'd trip over that every time. All right. So the pan's getting hot. You want to get everything absolutely ready. You need to be ready to go with this thing. So. Y'all can hear. Yeah, I'm kind of wired in here. Well, hopefully you guys can hear. All right. You want to have everything ready to go. Have your butter. I have it actually. The butter's already chopped up into pieces. It's going to use a fair amount of butter. That's one thing about this. But remember, that's what it's all about here. Get your herbs and your chives. You got your plate ready. Okay. Plate being ready is important. Okay, let me wash my hands first. Make sure there's no coronavirus that gets into this omelet. Wow, that's weird. Hang on. Okay, look at that. All right. So we're pretty much ready to go. I got everything in. One other thing, the first time you make this, you may want to put your salt in with your eggs as you whip it up, but I personally will add, the correct way is to not add the salt until you've started cooking. Okay, it basically, if you put the salt in first, it starts to break down the protein structure of your eggs, and so it's not really ideal. All right. Go ahead and crack our eggs. That's not good. Hopefully you don't do what I just did there. Fortunately, I got plenty of eggs. All right, there we go. Typically I make a 3-egg. Now, another thing that's important to point out here is that the pan should be sized so that you're not going to get a very deep omelet, okay? But you want to have enough eggs that the eggs are going to cover the bottom of the omelet. So don't use a huge skillet and don't use a tiny one. You want to be sized right. This is, I think, either an 8 or 9-inch skillet, and that's really good for 3 large eggs. So now, then you're of course going to whip up your eggs. You don't have to make them fluffy. That is not the point of this. The point of this is to make sure that there are no long egg white strands. Make sure your egg whites are all mixed in there good, okay? And then no further. As the French chef who taught Julia Child how to make French food said, you Americans, you overbeat your eggs, you destroy them into shape. For the same reason you don't want to put the salt in. You want your eggs to retain their body, and especially with this because the texture is so critical. Okay. So, pan's good and hot. I'm going to go ahead and add some butter. You want to use at least 1.5 tablespoons, if not 2. That's what we want. That's the temperature we want right there. So I want to keep that butter moving around. Get it all melted. Keep it moving. And get ready. Here we go. This is going to go by like lightning. Okay? Ready? Set. Get your spatula. Go. You want to do this as fast as you can possibly do it with getting your eggs. And get to work. Start shaking. Start shaking. And you want to occasionally curl it around the edge. Keep that moving. You do not want it to stay. It's going to set up fast because you got high heat. Or should. Ooh, I'm a little low. It's okay. And remember, you want to keep the edge of that clean. So it's gonna seize up pretty fast. And that's what you want. Oop, my goodness. That's performance anxiety, I guess. Make sure we put our salt in. That's okay. Certainly no harm done in getting it in there. Just make sure you get it in before the final step. And, oh, I made another huge gaffe. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. The chives don't have to actually cook. So, in theory, I would have added the chives in with the, when I beat the eggs, but, you know, what are you going to do? Anyway, so you're going to want to cook that puppy. Why are you slow today? I know it was a little low, but only a couple. It should be done by now. But so what you're going to want to do is make sure that this is actually too slow, which is unfortunate because it really needs to cook faster for a reason that you're about to see why. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit overdone here. That's okay. It'll be delicious. So once it gets to a point where it's mostly all set up, you're going to basically start the roll. So again, give it a little shake. And you want to pull it when it's still a little creamy. When it gets to about that point, you're going to turn off the heat, and then you're going to roll. Oh, see, it's overcooked. It's terrible that of all the times that I overcook it, it's here on the kitchen. Oh well. So I'm sure it'll still be very yummy. And then you want to move it down and bring it up. It's supposed to be completely white and unburned, and unfortunately I didn't hit it. Oh well. I'm gonna eat it anyway. Oh well. And then give it a flip. Oh, totally bad example. Welcome to the COVID kitchen. All right. This is more like an American omelet, but it's supposed to be white. I don't know why it went wrong today, other than that's life. I'm sure it'll still be tasty, but it's going to be missing some of that beguiling flavor to it. But that's the basic technique. It's just my fire wasn't hot enough, and so it was on there longer, and that's why it browned up, and it shouldn't do that. Oh well. Fortunately, we have some bacon that I know is delicious to go with this. So, this is the sous vide. The sous vide one's here. And this is the smoker. Put those there. Look at that, huh? Other than the completely overcooked French-style omelet and the two very different smoker sous vide, I'm sure it'll be a delicious breakfast. Now let me get myself ready. There's a weird noise going on outside, though. Hang on a second. It's a really weird noise. Hang on. I gotta go look and see what the hell that is. Really loud commotion. What the heck is going on? Just give me a minute, okay? Hang on. One more thing here. All right. Well, where is it? All right. Where is it? All right. Wow, what is going on out here? Heavens. Yeah, what do you want? No. Where is it? No. Unhand me. Unhand me. All right. Let go. Oh. What is going on out here? Heavens.
No. Unhand me. Unhand me.
All agents stand down. The suspect has been apprehended. All agents stand down. We have him in custody. Okay, good. Yeah, we got the chef.
No.
We got the chef. Did you guys get the psychiatrist?
Unhand me.
All agents stand down. The suspect has been apprehended. All agents stand down. Okay, well, we have him in custody. We have to call in here in a minute and
we got the chef.
Orders. Did you guys get the psychiatrist? Tell them what happened.
All agents stand down.
It's really too bad that
Suspect has been apprehended. All agents stand down.
the robots. Oh yeah, the robots.
Yes, we have them in custody.
Robots aren't here in a minute.
Robots are in. We got the chef.
Orders.
Did you guys get the psychiatrist?
Tell them what
All
happened.
agents stand down.
It's really too bad that
Suspect has been apprehended. All agents stand down.
the robots. Oh yeah, the robots.
Yes, we have them in custody.
Robots aren't here in a minute. Robots are in.
We got the chef.
Orders.
Did you guys get the psychiatrist?
Tell them what
All
happened.
agents stand down.
It's really too bad that
Suspect has been apprehended. All agents stand down.
the robots. Oh yeah, the robots.
Yes, we have them in custody.
Yeah, this is FBI here at COVID Kitchen. Orders.
Did you guys get the psychiatrist?
Tell them success.
All agents stand down.
Operation
Suspect
Crosstown
has been
Traffic.
apprehended. All agents stand down. The
Yeah,
robots.
we got 'em.
Oh yeah, the robots.
Got 'em.
Yes,
Robots.
we have them in
Yeah, we got the robots. Yeah, this is FBI here at COVID Kitchen. Orders.
Did you guys get the psychiatrist? Tell them
Success.
all agents stand down.
How do you know that these are the robots we're
Suspect
looking
has been
at?
apprehended.
How are we supposed to identify these?
Yeah,
Maybe they're not the robots.
robots.
Yeah, robots. Yeah, we got the robots. Yeah, this is FBI. Thirsty, huh?
Here at COVID Kitchen. Did you guys get the psychiatrist? All agents stand down.
How do you know that these are the robots we're looking at?
Apprehended.
Okay, yeah, these are the right robots. They're not the robots. One of them looks like it's intoxicated. We'll probably have to throw them in the drunk tank. Make sure that we get the
Did you guys get the
water
psychiatrist?
reservoir though, and
All agents stand down.
Great.
Apprehended.
We'll get the water reservoir and then lock up the evidence.
Looks like it's intoxicated.
Probably have to throw them in the drunk tank. Make sure that we get the
Did you guys get the
water
psychiatrist?
reservoir though, and
All agents stand down.
great.
Apprehended.
We'll get the water reservoir and then lock up the evidence.
Looks like it's intoxicated.
Make sure that we
Did you guys get the psychiatrist? All agents stand down.
We'll get the water reservoir. Yeah, the Russian lunatic, we didn't get that guy. No, 'cause I don't know how he was limping and somehow he made it through the perimeter. Yes, we know that he purchased them on Amazon and they were purchased legally. That doesn't change anything. Since when did we at the FBI start caring about something like that?
We'll get the water
Yeah, the Russian lunatic, we didn't get that guy. Sir, hang on, you're breaking. I don't know how he was limping. I
and somehow
know
made it through the perimeter.
that it's perfectly legal. Yes, we know that he purchased them. I know it doesn't harm anyone. That doesn't. Let's don't get into an argument. We can just dress this stuff up as exploitation of robots. Ladle on a few supplemental charges. I don't know, perjury, obstruction of justice, burglary. That it's maybe something about illegal psychiatric practice. Anyway, the important thing here is that we shut down this stupid show. We can just go on way too long. I don't know why we didn't do this eons ago.
robots.
Ladle on a few supplemental. Well, by the time that they figure out that stuff out, it'll be months from now, and it doesn't matter. We got what we wanted. As far as I'm concerned, Operation Crosstown Traffic is a total success. Good job, and I'll write a report.
I don't know why we didn't do this.
All right, I'll let you go. Well, by the time that they figure out that stuff out, it'll be months from now, and it doesn't matter. We got what we wanted. As far as I'm concerned, Operation Crosstown Traffic is a total success. Good job, and I'll write a report.
Another dazzling success.
All right, I'll let you go. Well, by the time that they figure out that stuff out, it'll be months from now, and it doesn't matter. We got what we wanted. As far as I'm concerned, Operation Crosstown Traffic is a total success. Good job, and I'll write a report.
Another dazzling success.
All right, I'll let you go. Figure out that stuff out. It'll be months from now, and it doesn't matter. We got what we wanted.
They're probably watching this thing.
Operation Crosstown
We gotta take care of something here.
Good job, and I'll write a report. Figure out that stuff out. It'll be months from now, and it doesn't matter. We got what we wanted.
They're probably watching this thing.
Operation Crosstown
We gotta take care of something here.
Good job, and I'll write a report.
You jump in front of my car when you know all the time 90 miles an hour, girl, is the speed I drive. You tell me it's alright, you don't mind a little pain. You say you just want me to take you for a ride. You're just like so hard to get through to you. I don't need to run over you. All you do is slow me down, and I'm trying to get to the other side of town. I'm not the only soul who's accused of hit and run. Tire tracks all across your back, I can see you had your fun. But darling, can't you see my signals turn from green to red? And with you I can see a traffic jam straight up ahead. You're just like so hard to get through to you. I don't need to run over you. All you do is slow me down, and I got better things on the other side of town.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write
I'm in Amsterdam, which is without a doubt the cannabis capital of the world. And that's because of the enormous